All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode, another action-packed episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. This is a multimedia platform to bring hazmat response information and training from tips from people from across the globe. I am Bobby Salas, and I'll be acting as the host once again tonight. And I am joined by my usual cohorts, Bob Kosh, Jason Rogers, Mike Monaco, and Phil Ambrose. Very nice. I like it. The whole cruise.
Bobby, you realize nobody is watching this right now because of the election thing going on, right? Nobody.
Right now there is 87 viewers, which is amazing. And I'm,
87. How many times are you logged in?
82.
82.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, it is right now election night for the United States, at least, and very exciting. But we're going to try to focus on the points here, the real deal, what's really important: hazardous materials, sexy stuff.
Always is.
So, what do you want to do? You guys just want to go into the stories and start talking about it? Or do you want to go into the 2 minutes? What do you feel is best?
Yeah, no, let's do our 2 minutes. I got some stuff I got to get off my chest.
All right, then I am going to start.
Oh, I hope it's that beautiful blue shirt.
That's the after show.
I need a shave. I gotta.
And
Yeah,
if
you
you're
got mountain
listening,
man look going on.
if you're listening to this on the podcast, if you send $19.95 to Jason at hazmatnation.com.
Why don't we start out with Phil Ambrose with his 2 minute nugget? He is on the right side, so I'm just going to start with him. What do you have of 2 minutes worth of content?
Ready, go.
Go.
I think this is a great idea. And Jason said, hey, what have you done at the station in 2 minutes? And this was kind of cool because I've got a little bit of this radioactive background, including being radioactive. And one of the guys that works with us on our team, his wife is a nurse and was asked to go over to Nuke Med, which probably everybody here is familiar. Maybe one of their hospitals has an oncology department, Nuke Med. And the 2 minute story short is there's a new radioisotope out there used for extending the life of pancreatic cancer. I think it is some sort of abdominal nasty cancer. But what was real interesting about it is she had a bunch of questions for him because they were doing this procedure and it started to make her a little nervous because she didn't have the rad background, and up to it including, hey, these are the dangers. Don't get within a foot, 3 feet from the patient. Don't do this. Don't do that. Wear this. Don't wear that. And got some on-the-job training. So, of course, she reached out to her husband, who's a hazmat specialist with our department, and we were kind of doing some research. Here's what was kind of interesting is the isotope, and this is just something it was a good 2 minute drill. It wasn't anything we could find in any of our, it wasn't your I-125, I-131. It was a brand new one. And I want to say, I was looking it up here again because I had it all on my work computer. TU-177 or TC-177, brand new, just got released to where we weren't going to find it in Weiser. It was very difficult to find any information because, of course, the first thing we were thinking of is what kind of emitter it is and how long does it last. They've been using this thing in Europe quite a bit. Is it very dangerous? Is it not? And so our 2 minute drill was taking this radioisotope and trying to find out everything we could find out about it because it mattered to us, because here was the hitch. Where she happened to work and do this procedure, if that patient crashed, they were in that, like so many hospitals have, is that the building next door to the hospital. So guess who shows up when the patient crashes? Any takers? 911, EMS. So it's the fire paramedics, the EMS paramedics that show up, and all of a sudden you walk into this scene that's going to look to some like some movie, and is it that bad? I could put up later because I think it'd be a good thing for Hazmat Nation, the isotope and everything about it. But this was basically one of those brand new ones they're using that brought over from Europe. I don't really still know a ton about it because it was a very difficult tech ref. But the situation you would have is you get called even as a fire crew or a medic crew to go to this hospital for a patient that codes, and you run across the trifoil and they start telling you about this isotope. So that's hopefully that fit within 2 minutes. And we're going to put more up on Hazmat Nation because it's an interesting one. I'm not saying to be afraid of it, but that's just a regular expectation any of us with big hospitals would come across, correct?
Yeah. I got to say the majority of what we catch is the Tech 99. Right, Mike?
Absolutely. Yeah. The iodines, the Tech 99s.
Yeah. And I'm actually more surprised that you were able to talk and keep it within 2 minutes. This is one of the first times that I've heard you talk and it didn't go past 2 minutes.
Oh boy, that's so true.
I love it.
Very nice. So guys, if you want a little more information, check the Hazmat Nation, check hazmatnation.com, and we will have something up because I will absolutely be reading that. I didn't know that should be some good fodder for the kitchen table or the training room to discuss that, because that's something that's going to be coming across our tables. So
hey, I guess we would have to actually call them and find out, but something like the Identifinder and all these meters, I'm assuming, are not going to pick it up, right? If it's brand new, it doesn't have the spectrum. So if somebody's walking around and you're going up to them just to hopefully grab a medical isotope, and it's going to come up with a signal that you don't know what it is, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
Well, I collected the data I could because there's, I think, 5 key hospitals across the U.S. that are using it. And I don't want to create any hysteria like, oh, this bad stuff. It might not be that bad, but it became a tech ref challenge for us, and we'll share it on Hazmat Nation.
Very cool.
Mike, what do you have for 2 minutes, please?
What do I have for 2 minutes? Okay, I have 2 questions for you guys, or anybody out there in the land there. Let me just click on this. All right, what is this?
An egg roll transporter.
Yes, a giant egg roll transporter. That's specificcly for shrimp rolls.
Coffin.
Nope, that's
What kind of coffin?
It's a midget submarine.
That was on the USS Enterprise, right? That's where they shot Spock at her?
We are not allowed to use the word midget anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That offends.
It's a miniature-sized person submarine.
Good one.
Yes, it is it is, like said before, containment vessel. And that's not really the hard question, because I'm sure everybody on here
looks like a coffin that's also set up for blast.
It's actually, that's about as thick as some of these containment vessels get. I got a couple different pictures of a few of them. Here's another containment vessel. Yeah. Right, and here's an example of a containment vessel that we use in Hazmat. We keep this one on the rig for ethylene oxide. So these are containment vessels. A lot of people really don't know a whole lot about them. But my biggest question to you to keep in the back of your mind, most departments don't have these. All right, they're very, very expensive and they're almost never used. But if you do have to use it, who is your closest person to be able to get your hands on one? I know New York City, we have 3. All right, we have the little one, we have a carbon steel one, and we have a stainless steel one, depending on the product that we're going to use. But what are some of the ones in your areas? Where can you find them if, in fact, you don't have them on hand? What industry might have them? Because that's how New York City originally obtained them. We had a run that we needed it, and somebody happened to know somebody at IBM that had these, and we were able to take them on loan, and then afterwards we went ahead and purchased them. But where can you get this resource if you actually needed it? Not a question that needs to be answered, but something, food for thought.
That's good stuff. It just, exactly, it's food for thought. Good stuff.
That's my minute and 15 seconds.
That's close enough.
And you did that under 2 minutes, and you didn't offend anybody but midgets.
Amazing.
I got to do better. I got to offend more than midgets.
All right, moving right along. Jason Rogers, the ever-present. What do you have for our 2 minutes?
A couple of things. So Hazmat Nation is looking for some help. And I'm going to turn to the subscribership, the podcast world, the hazmatters that are out there to send us your articles, some things that you want to talk about, any aspiring writers out there that may be listening. I don't care what you write about. Let's talk about you. Talk about your new fog nozzle. Talk about your new foam truck, which I understand you guys got a new foam unit there in the city. But we're certainly looking for more submissions. So we have some really great stuff coming out on industrial firefighting. Got a guy named Ryan Henry that's doing some really cutting edge stuff for our side of the house to learn, which I think is really cool. He put up something today talking about blast furnaces and sort of that sort of thing. So I'm looking for a lot more to come from that side of the house to kind of share in that information. But I want it to be out there that if you are interested in being a writer, please submit any of your stories, your ideas to Hazmat Nation, and we will get you published. The great thing about this is if you're looking for grant help, if you're looking for some recognition for your department, yourself, you want to build your resume, something like that, we can help you do that. So it is a free and open casting call for all of the talented firehouse writers out there. If you're in the locker room with nothing better to do on your phone, jot some thoughts down and send them to us. I think that we can make you famous. Industrial hazmat, a big thing going on right now on Hazmat Nation. So if you're interested in learning something that's outside of the industry, certainly we don't have a ton of those types of things, but I learned something today about blast furnaces, and about 15 miles from our jurisdiction, we actually have a glass factory, and I found out, they got one of these things. So there's some interesting tactics and things being talked about that are actually relevant and that I learned. So definitely, look at Hazmat Nation for some of that information. If you're a guy that maybe used to build MC331s and you know a lot about propane, you might know. I know it's one of the guys that's actually on the show watching. He's commenting now. So I'm talking to you. If you want to write some articles and put some stuff out there, Phil Ambrose will make you famous. And last but not least, we have a growing list of hazmaters. We definitely want to preview your team. It doesn't have to be a team. If you want to talk about a new engine, that's some stuff that maybe you have. If you want to get some props or play for your volunteer department, your mid-city department, or your big city department, we want you. It's kind of come one, come all to Hazmatters. We want to learn from you. We want to learn from each other. So that's kind of what I have. I think come one, come all to Hazmat Nation, and we are looking to make you famous. We want to hear from you because you're in the nation. You're the guys that are out here doing the job and doing it well every day.
Very nice. I like that.
Sweet.
I like it a lot. I'm going to move along to Bob, but I think Bob might have some technical issues. Bob, are you there? Bob, are you there? This is like, I'm like the, no. All right. That's his 2 minutes. Very good stuff.
He is at the firehouse today.
He's at the firehouse, and I think they're having an air raid warning issue. So I will continue with my little 2-minute nugget. My thing is mostly, I'm kind of pulling this from the fire side, but this works very well for hazmat technicians. And that is air resource management. And what I mean by this is personally, as air resource management, what I'm saying is when you put on your 45-minute SCBA cylinder, how many minutes do you have? And a lot of guys, they snap to it and they say 22 and a half minutes or whatever the hell they say. But what I'm challenging guys to do is sit at the bar or sit on a couch and breathe a full tank down to the vibra alert or whatever your trigger is, and then keep going. Go until it stops. And then when it stops, go until you have no more air, and know that time, because when you're in the suit and the vibra stops, then you have 8, 9, 10 minutes left before that whole thing stops. I got to know how much time I have in my cylinder when I'm working versus when I'm standing in the pool getting decontaminated, doing nothing. I need to know these times, and these things are going to, make a big effect on your either emergency or your regular decontamination. Now, there are two things I just want to bring up in a little mini nugget within that. Ways to slow down your breathing, and the two techniques that I use is skip breathing and humming. I'll explain both. Skip breathing is when you breathe in and then you hold your breath for the time it would have taken you to breathe out, then breathe out. So you go. So you actually slow yourself down a little bit. The other one, and though it sounds very stupid, is you actually hum when you breathe out. So when I breathe in, I go on the way out, and because you're breathing against something, it slows down all your breathing. It sounds very stupid when you have 10 people in a room that are all doing the same thing. But it is very effective to do it. Try it out at the firehouse before you go into a scene. Know how to control your breathing. Know your times on the SCBA, and that's my 2 minutes of whatever.
I like to hum the intro to the Hazmat Guys podcast. That's my go-to.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Mr. Monaco, can I have an extra 2 minutes?
Yes. 2 minutes has been granted to the gentleman from California.
Thank you. They had pleased the court. This is outstanding. And there was in fire engineering last year, I forget the month, but there was somebody, and I'm sorry I don't remember your name, but it was a Navy SEAL turned firefighter, which we have on our department, which is so cool. Did an article on this, and just like you were talking about, Bobby, we went out and did the drill, and it was yes, it's unrealistic. You're never going to do it on a fire scene or on a hazmat scene, but you're basically putting that the stage in your mask, and you've got the little tube breathing through a straw, which none of us can do, and you're sharing back and forth between the buddy breathers, so it's coordinated back and forth, back and forth. Well, one of our guys who was Navy Special Ops did it with us. And his other techniques, because he went through all the Navy dive school and stuff with the SEALs, was to and I'm telling you, if it comes down to it, I will do this. He's like, try to pee, which of course, in a drill is going to be a little interesting. But if I was in a sticky situation, and the other one was he would shove his tongue to the roof of his mouth. But he said he made it through Navy dive school on those low air situations where when it came to that, he would, and if there's any Navy people in the room or special ops, he's in a pool, so he could pee. But I right now will admit, if I'm in the suit or in my turnouts and I'm in a bad spot and I'm critical on air, I will try anything. And that's one of my go-tos, is to start trying to pee. And they said, you relax and you take less breaths. I like that. That's I'm going to do that right now.
And on a side note, if you accidentally piss in your suit, you have an excuse.
Now you have
turn your purge valve on and be out of air when they take you out. Like, listen, I was out of air. I had to pee.
I've done it twice since we've been sitting here. This is awesome. Now it gives me some credibility now. All right, let's get into a little bit of news here. We have
we're talking about schools.
Yeah,
today.
Yeah, this is again in Florida. Go figure. Preschool. All right, so authorities say that more than 20 children at South Florida preschool have been hospitalized after suffering nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration. I'm just going to stop there for a second. Right off the bat, I'm thinking it's something it's Florida, it's hot. All right, we'll go through the rest of it.
I'm thinking right off the bat with those symptoms, organophosphate.
Right. Well, I was thinking more like a dehydration.
They're little kids. They throw up and they're going to dehydrate quick. They're little bodies. They dehydrate really fast.
Let's continue. Let's see where this goes. Lauderhill Police and fire spokesman tell the Sun Sentinel that's 19 children from Ave Marie, I guess is Ave Marie, Friends Preparatory School, shared gurneys Mondays as paramedics loaded them onto ambulance for trips to 3 nearby hospitals. The report says that a total of 29 children eventually showed symptoms, and some were driven to the hospitals by their family. What caused the illnesses was not immediately known. Lauderhill Fire Rescue Assistant Chief Jeff Levy says that food poisoning is the primary suspect if their hazardous materials crews did not find a gas leak and no adults developed symptoms. I'm sorry.
What kind of school are you running there?
I think they were all trying to figure out Common Core math at the same time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's you know what? That's a very odd thing to happen. Yeah, I can see the guanidinium phosphate. I'm personally thinking that maybe that it's dehydration. I don't know. I mean, that could be a million things.
I did some follow up on the story, and they were big on air monitoring for just for reasons of symptoms, but there were no adults symptomatic. So I think the whole issue came down to what do we got? The big question. And I think, and Monaco was shaking his head. They're not little adults. They're little people. They dehydrate faster. They're going to decompensate faster with a smaller amount of organophosphate. At least that's my initial thought, because those are, the sludge is what you're starting to think. So I don't know.
Yeah, and they probably do skip through. I'm not really up on my my sludgeum for kids. I don't remember my ACLS for this, but they might skip some of the signs and symptoms of them to be there. I mean, you're talking about pesticides, herbicides, organophosphates, they're all in the same basic vein. I'm sure they would have the same symptomology, right?
Yeah, they should be. They're going to be affected at lower doses.
The food poisoning to me honestly sounds like the KISS method. If you hear a horse, don't think zebra, right? So
Bobby Joe's, baby.
In reality, the food poisoning, honestly, if we had 29 kids that suddenly were actually symptomatic at a school, okay, even in New York City, the shit would hit the fan. I mean, literally, there would be more agencies in a moment's notice at that school. If they went around, I'm sure they did a full search of everything, the areas, they looked at all that stuff, and they haven't found anything. And the fact that no adults develop symptoms, I mean, no teachers really eat school food, at least none that I remember when I was going through school. So I don't know. To me, that food poisoning sounds like the most likely candidate.
I like where you're at with that. The keep it simple, stupid certainly is indicative, and I think that is that our responsibility once we're triaging and getting these kids out of here. I think we can slow down once we're treating symptoms. We had a similar call to this about 15 years, maybe 20 years ago, except it was CO. They were running one of those LP floor cleaners in the daycare, and the city police came out and commandeered a bus, and they just loaded all the kids up to the bus, and they showed up at the ER with 15 or 20 kids at a daycare. But different scenario. But you're absolutely right. For you guys, you're going to have 300 firemen and 6,000 ambulances. I think for every place else in the country, we're all going to be, get these kids out of here, and trying to figure out what it is. I don't know.
But what I'm saying is, I think they're going to do a pretty thorough, real thorough investigation on this. This is going to be every meter's out. Everybody's walking around. Everybody's coming up with thoughts and ideas of what it could possibly be, and ruling as much out as you possibly can.
Yeah, no, and I guess where I didn't finish the thought, what I'm thinking is they're going to be at the hospital doing labs on these kids, and we're going to have some clues maybe before we can get to the meter that it hits on. Or they don't get any hits.
Or not, yeah. It reminded me of the movie The Lost Boys, the pie eating contest scene where then they all started vomiting.
Throw up, yeah.
And not to make light of it, but having a couple kids, I mean, there's certain foods that when they're not into, it just comes right back up. It's different than just how an adult might treat it. Similar kids as well as cancer patients, they react quicker. And I don't know the sludgeum. They're smaller, they have less body mass, but yeah, I saw this one. I thought, of course, you're also dealing with panicky parents coming to the scene, shelter in place versus just triage them off into another place, like the Mercury incident they had in Nevada a couple months ago that turned into a big thing.
Sorry.
And yeah, we We had something like that the other day we responded to. It was 3 Hazmat teams rolling to a school with kids symptomatic, although we got canceled en route because it sounded more like it was a fire burning in a fireplace nearby. And it was a Friday afternoon, so you always suspect who was maybe fixing to leave early on that Friday. But yeah, this one, it looked like a handful. I'm not sure if it's anything you're going to monitor, but I guess the first question is if there's any decon necessary if these kids are going off to the hospital.
Well, let me flip this on you guys. Let's not diagnose the children. Let's not diagnose the who, what, when, why, where. Why don't we talk about how we are going to deal with it, how the listener is going to be dealing with this thing. So if we're coming in on an unknown with 29 children that are affected, no adults, what's your metering selection, Jason?
Rad, 4 gas, and probably CO.
Rad, 4 gas, and CO. Okay. Primary meters going in, doing a quick interrogation, high, low, medium, right? Because they're shorter, so we're going to be concentrating a little bit more on the floor. Maybe there's something that's heavier, right? There's only, 13 gases-ish that are lighter than air. Is it still 13?
Yeah, 13.
No, was it 4H Anna Medic now is the new one?
Yeah, they change it up all the time. Now, are those 4 gases in general, or are those just 4 flammable gases? The 13 flammable gases.
I just read it the other day, and it said that it was the only gases that are lighter.
The only ones, right?
Like, yeah, all right, all right. But all right, so we got 4 gas. What would you say? PID? What would you say? Rad meter?
Yeah, rad first, 4 gas with a PID probably, and because that's what ours all are, and CO.
All right, are we dealing with corrosives? Do you think there's any corrosives?
Probably not all. I mean, we're gonna have pH paper on the guy going in, but
yeah. My point of why I asked the corrosives is that it doesn't matter mass on corrosives. Adults are going to feel it just like kids are going to feel it. You can take in a certain amount of chemicals, toxics, asphyxiants, or whatever it is, but corrosives, everybody feels it.
Everybody's going to be sick.
So I would kind of push corrosives off. Everything else is mass dependent. So that's why I was going that route. All right. So PPE, Mike.
Well, PPE, I guess I'm going to go, if it's just 29 children sick, I'm going to assume there's more than 29 children at the school. So I'm probably going to be perfectly comfortable going in there in bunker gear, SCBA, being a little bit, more maneuverable. I mean, it's Florida, so I guess that's pretty hot. But at least up here, I would feel comfortable with SCBA. And we got buckets to carry plenty of meters in. So I think I would add chemical warfare agents to that just because of the vomiting. Just to see if there's, something with a phosphate in the air or sulfur in the air, maybe even a hit on anything from floor wax to cleaner, just anything that's changed.
Okay. I like that. Phil. Well, you know what, Mike, just one more question on that. Would you go with something that's uber sensitive like mass spec, GCIMS, anything like that down low? Are you going to start at the higher end and go down? Because, some things just go into whiteout.
Yeah, honestly, this would probably be one of those where we'd be grabbing everything right off the bat, just kind of bringing it in, seeing what we got, set up a little station, break guys into teams. We have the equipment to do that and the manpower. So we'd break people up into teams, have them walk around, relay back any readings to the incident commander. Meanwhile, the specialists are breaking out your GCMS, your mass spec, all those fun things to really break it down. Because we have had runs where we've been able to diagnose bug spray or roach bombs and stuff like that with the GCMS. So not a bad thought.
Phil, if you're the incident commander, you have a couple of companies there. Your hazmat team is coming in. What's your thoughts? Being what you are, you're a specialist. You know what you know. We're not playing any punches, but you have G-pop coming in. And your hazmat team is maybe 5 minutes out. What are you going to tell them on the radio to start getting them all primed up and stuff like that? What's your thoughts?
OPSEC, absolutely nothing on the radio because this is getting on the news. I can't. Yeah, this is what we got, and it's all over the internet, and we're gonna read you off. But take from that first in considerations on whether I have my casualty collection point and have these kids set up because something's going on, but they're all in this boat together. So get those separated from the others. Anything I've ever done at a school, whether it be a pepper spray release or some sort of nefarious act, you got parents that are going to show up on scene. You're going to need, as far as the hazmat team, I would, if I could, I'm going to have somebody go ahead and make contact with them and start giving them information of what we do have based on the symptoms so they can start getting their minds right on it. And initially looking at whether I need to decon these kids or not, if it was something that did happen. I think somebody in the liner notes put something like bug spray and things like that. And what hospitals? I mean, I'm thinking bigger picture because I'm going to need more resources. I'm going to need to get them to hospitals, at least in the Republic of California. We've got, EDAP hospitals that are emergency departments approved for pediatrics and other hospitals. So you have to take those things into consideration. So I'd have my medical branch set up, and I'd be ready to have my hazmat team coordinate with them because I'm going to be worried about treating, getting somebody on a tech ref side assisting. And I'm going to go ahead and also let the hazmat team know for me, at least here, to start reaching out if they haven't already found out through the TV news, getting my officials that are really handy to have on scene with things like this to help not only figure it out, but start making some decisions, for the rest of the, say, asymptomatic kids, that those ones that the parents are going to love to grab and take in their car to the local hospital.
That's a very interesting dynamic of how many of these kids of the 29 are actually symptomatic and some of them are psychosomatic.
Well, remember the Lost, what did I say? The movie, I said it. I looked at Stand By Me. Boys. The scene in Stand By Me when one kid starts to vomit and the rest vomit. And I'm not saying that necessarily, all happens with all kids, but I've got kids and I've seen it.
I want to pull out one thing that was written in the comments section on the. It's a great question, and it says by Ken Jones. What is a good way to get film samples off of the floor if the kids are on the floor and then they put their hands in their mouths? Very, very good point. They're the ones that are, and I'm just thinking about it in my own town that, the kids are running around a gym, they're on that floor that maybe just got lacquered or whatever it is, and maybe the kids had their hands on something that maybe a little bit of a wet puddle, and then they go to school and they eat their lunch without washing their hands. So how are we going to, as hazmat technicians, take a sample of this? Anybody get any points or anything like that?
Well, I guess if we're going to use something like 908 or a GCMS, we can do a swab sample. And I guess we should probably do that anyway if we're going to send anything to a lab, to get, samples tested. Probably just literally the cotton swab.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything else? Because I have an idea on how I would do it. It might not be very typical. I would just take a screwdriver in the corner of the room and pretty much break out a chip. And then we have a military chemical warfare meter called the AP4C, which is who makes that again, Mike?
I have no idea who makes the AP4C.
I don't know. Somebody makes the meter, but there's an attachment that allow you to heat up liquids or solids, and I would literally put that on the tip of it, heat it up, and put it in a little pipe, and then smoke it. Not literally. I'm saying let the meter smoke it, and
figuratively.
Maybe that the varnish they're using is something different, like a something like a Zamboni type finish. I don't know. I'm talking silly now.
Are you worried?
What exactly is a Zamboni finish?
Zamboni, I don't know.
Ice that drives around on. Ask Bob.
Between the gym classes, they go around.
Where did you go to school?
I don't know. Very fancy.
We did a drill back when I was at UCLA too, and we used some live agent, but it was I forget. We had a biochemist bring in some sort of benign But the whole drill was focused around not only the sampling to grab that sample like we were just talking about, but then we actually did it where how do you get this sample to the lab and all the rest of that stuff? So we actually had helicopters come in and take the sample, and of course our equipment, that was 17 years ago, so our equipment's gotten even that much better in the field. But it isn't a bad idea to maybe practice with some of that stuff, how you would if you were taking those swipe samples and sending them off to your local lab. Where is it, especially if all the other acronyms are busy that you think might show up?
Well, even like, Bob Stern says, what about a vapor bag for the lab? Yeah, a vapor bag would be great for the lab if you had a generalized, or not even a localized place. But what if you're getting 29 kids from all different 29 places? I mean, you can't take a vapor bag from 29 different locations or 20, I'm saying in my mind's eye, it happened in a gym or it happened in the lunchroom or something like that. What if they didn't, what if you ask the custodian and he says, yeah, I haven't waxed the floors in 3 weeks. Now what?
Well, and are you worried about criminal evidence collection too?
You can go down this rabbit hole forever.
Absolutely.
But then you're going to say, well, why? Why would somebody do it?
Back to the swab thing and the swab off the kids. I think probably I'm going to make that my priority, only because the first kid that got drug out of there that maybe was the most symptomatic. Now you're going to have that hospital concerned. Hey, what do we got here? And I'm going to want to try to get them data about that before I solve the whole mystery back on scene. So getting those, sounds gross, but right off the vomit or whatever it take from those first kids getting transported might be helpful.
And also don't forget about the feedback of the hospital feeding back to you through blood gases and blood chemistry.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Jason, what would be the major differences between, say, an organophosphate poisoning and food poisoning? A sneeze, that's the only difference?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Nice.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. The major difference between organophosphate poisoning and food poisoning.
As a first responder coming up and triaging a patient.
So
what are going to be the differences?
You're not going to have certain aspects of the sludgeum. You're probably not going to have the tears. You're probably not going to have
meiosis.
The runny nose. You're going to have you're going to have the upset stomach, which you probably are not going to have. Maybe that as crampings, yes. So maybe that's not a good statement, but you're going to have a sympathetic response to the food, right? There's going to be that connectivity to what is causing this. What did we all have in common? If we had nothing in common, and you've got salivation, lacrimation, defecation, all the other Asians, so I think you got to, you got to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and let your patients or your victims talk to you in their signs and symptoms, right?
Right. Well, just like, the Narcan run, the pupils don't lie either.
Yeah.
Mm. And the pupils, I believe, are one of the very first things to start to go, right? Even the slightest amount of organophosphate really, those bad boys start to
because they're small vessels. Yeah.
Right.
So.
All right, cool.
Do we have anything else? I think we're kind of running out of time. I would love to.
We are out of time.
Because that was a really juicy one. Maybe we can push this one off to next week. This is another.
There's always next week.
It's for the children.
It's for the children.
No, those are tough. It's whoever had that call. Those are always more tough.
Yeah. Listen, could you imagine the poor incident commander who's got to sit there, have all these resources and all these people respond, and the only thing he can tell the media or the public official standing next to him is, "We've got nothing."
I don't care. I don't care about the media, and I don't care about the public officials. Imagine dealing with the parents.
Parents are terrible.
Or the parents, yeah.
Right away,
oh my God.
You have to have somebody on that.
there's going to be a level of anxiety that's through the roof.
Yeah, I would whisper to somebody with a parent hearing, being like, "Wow, those poor kids are never going to make it," and just walk away. And just, I wouldn't be able to help myself. That's why I'd make a bad incident commander.
Oh boy.
Or a PIO, Mike Monaco, PIO.
But the dehydration theory, I'm out on. As a parent chaperone, all these people that say your kids need to be hydrated, all that means is you stop and they have to pee every 5 minutes. I say, let them be a little dehydrated. It's just, I made it with lame drinking fountains in the back of the school. Just forget about the hydration. It's overrated.
Could see Phil's kids in the back of a long trip, all shriveled up in the back. Can I please have a sip of water?
You gotta, yeah.
They're like raisins.
I've totally flashed back to the scene in Vacation where the dog's running behind the car.
Poor little fella kept up for the first few miles.
No, every little kid's got their big jug of water, and you're out for maybe 30 minutes on like a little hike around the school, and everybody's bringing their John Muir pack, and then they all have to pee at the same time. So
it's true. I think we touched the nerve.
I don't get invited much to be the chaperone. Let's put it that way.
Hold it, damn it.
All right, let's go around the table, find out where everybody can be found, and we'll wrap this thing up. Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me at Hazmat Nation. Email me at jason@hazmatnation.com.
Oh, that was short and sweet. I love that one. Mike, what about you?
You can find me at Mike at the Hazmat Guys is the email. You can also find the Hazmat Guys podcast on iTunes, and you can we have updates on both the podcast and this show if you go to Google Plus and if you go to Facebook and like us on the pages.
I love it. Philip?
You can find me on Hazmat Nation, and welcome to our newest customers in another customer in Kansas for HazSim. And if Kosh was here, he'd be talking about that, because I think we're going to go out and give them some training too. Another one getting on the system. So yeah, Hazmat Nation is a great place, and thanks anybody that avoided watching the election results and came on here and checked us out.
Yes.
You know what I want? I thought about this just for a minute.
Don't leave open-ended questions.
Would I have your listen to me? Would I have your support? All right. Would I have your support if I ran for president of the Hazmat Nation?
Oh,
I want to be the president, chief executive officer. I want to do a 4-year term, and I want to be the Hazmat Nation commander in chief. I'm going to get a sign. You know what? I'm getting yard signs. I'm getting T-shirts.
I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to make Mike Monaco pay for it.
I want to get hats that say Decon America.
Can I put my kids on the other side of that wall?
I'm going to give them a bunch of water.
Monaco, they will only just wipe their snotty hands on the wall.
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea.
I'm running, boys. I'm making.
You got my support.
I am Bobby Salison. I am one of the co-hosts for the Hazmat Guys podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, any place you get your podcast. We also do a live show of both the podcast and this episode. So if you go to, you go to YouTube, you'll find us there. So once again, this wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Hazmat Nation and the Hazmat Guys. Please be sure to catch us live every Tuesday at 21:15 hours Eastern Standard Time. That's 9:15 for you late people on hazmatnation.com. And we will, who is breathing into their
yeah, what was that?
So overtaking me with the huffing in there. I feel like I'm on a crank call.
Don't you get that
we will also be producing a podcast version of this, which is audio only, that you can find on iTunes under the Hazmat Guys Nation. And we, of course, put this on our video channel, which is on YouTube. And we find that as THMGnation.com. Without any further ado, is that it? I think that's it.
That's it.
Guys, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next time.